And a good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining in on this lovely night in Singapore itself, Wednesday on 9 p.m. Thank you guys for after a long while. I hope you guys have seriously missed us. Yeah, and so right now today we've got a really big special in terms of I've been looking around, going around and getting to know some of the project owners and things like that. And so today we have really special guests with us who's going to join us and explain a little bit more about the spaces that's trending now in terms of the NFTs and the metaverses per se. And of course, without further ado, joining with me would be DeFi's own Singapore's Adele. I forgot, what do I call you? A crypto babe?
Call me Crypto Bell. No.
Crypto Bell. Yes, that's right. Yeah. So that's the persona she's going after. So she will be most likely helping us to interview the rest of the team members that's going to be introducing in a short while. So first up, we and just a disclaimer, guys, for everything that we do on the show, please take note that cryptocurrencies are considered a high-risk investment products. We are not here to promote per se, but we are here to give you the insights of the what goes on behind the technologies, specifically in the blockchain space itself. And so, without further ado, I want to introduce my guest for tonight, coming from Singapore itself, an old friend of mine, Mr. Prakash S. He's the CEO of Enjinstarter. It's a very, very new project. So this is kind of like an alpha. Hopefully you guys are watching this, and getting your answers and knowledge answered on this. So Prakash, welcome to the show. And the second person who is also well known in the space for this metaverse opinions is Mr. Wayne Cheong. Mr. Wayne, hi. Thanks for joining in, man. So I did a bit of research and I just realized that Wayne is quite a celebrity online. So yeah, we're in the presence of greatness, man. I'm like, dude, I didn't know he's gonna join us for this. So take it away, man. Adele. So you can ask them any questions pertaining to today's product. The project itself. Naming Enjinstarter, NFTs, and marketplace. Yeah, take it away, Adele.
Okay, so I just wanted to. Do you guys want to start by introducing yourselves? I mean, we know who you guys are, but maybe we can have you guys introduce yourselves to our audiences first.
Yeah, so I'm the co-founder and CEO at Enjinstarter. We are a launchpad that's focused on blockchain gaming as well as metaverses. We're fresh off the block, very, very new in the space, but we're very excited about what we're going to talk about today. I think for today's purpose, we're more focused on building this narrative around the opportunities that exist in blockchain gaming as well as metaverses, and I think that's what we'd like to share more about. And yeah, let me pass it on to Wayne, our Chief Metaverse Officer here at Enjinstarter.
Thanks, Prakash. My name is Wayne. It's great to see everyone. I will call everyone partners. And my main responsibility, I'm actually a podcast host. That's what I do. And I think my tribe are people like Prakash as well. He's also someone who is, very much active in the marketing space previously. And he's, I think, also a creator. I think in another sense of someone who creates, right? He basically builds a great platform, should I say, a very good community. And I think from the first show that we did yesterday, you could see that there's a lot of audience participation because his community is really awesome. And he's my tribe. And I think people like Adele is also my tribe because she's a podcaster. And of course, you, my friend, the host of this show, you're also my tribe. Leslie, and podcasters are all the same tribe, and we like to keep on talking and always go off on a tangent. So I think my intro is already off a tangent already, but I would say that my main responsibility, is to basically do a lot of podcasts, a lot of live podcasting events, and like the one that we did yesterday, and it's also to establish Enjinstarter Multiverse. I think that's probably a topic that you'll deep dive into with us later on. That includes having a presence in all the relevant metaverses and also exploring the potential to maybe even acquire or own real estate in these relevant virtual worlds. So that's a short introduction from me.
It's a shout out from our friends in Malaysia. So Colbert, thanks for coming in and joining us. So this, as this is a live event, you guys, as long as you are here listening to us, just drop us a hi and just say hi. And who knows? We and along the way we'll answer some questions along the way if we get to. And yeah, so Adele, take over. Yeah.
I mean, so guys, I think we have 16 people right now in our YouTube watching it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to type them, and we are happy to flash the relevant ones to our guest today. So, I mean, Wayne, you were talking about how, we're talking about, all forming a tribe, and I really miss those days where there were crypto blockchain events that we could go to. These days, we're all doing it like this, which then begs the question about the metaverse, right? So I have a question about the metaverse, because I used to be a gamer. I am very interested in the tech space, but I like my physical world as it is. So then my question would be, for people like me, creative people, I think we're a good fit to come into the metaverse. But some of the VR art, the square, the very angular, it doesn't appeal to my aesthetic. But I understand that the metaverse now is so much more than that. Can you maybe share, can either of you maybe help me to answer this question? I represent the layman out there, new to NFTs, new to metaverse. Why should somebody, how does the metaverse improve our lives?
Sure.
Podcast, go first.
Sure. So I guess the metaverse really at this point in time is playing a key role in changing the way that we live, work, and play, right? All of us are now stuck in this extended lockdown globally. Like what you mentioned, we can't go out, socialize, network like how the way that we used to. But now everything's moving online, and this is where the role of metaverses is going to come in. It's going to change the way that we network. It's going to change the way that we actually meet with people. And I think as humans, we crave for simulation, we crave for stimulation. And in a period where there's a lack of that, we will all naturally go in search for something new. And that's where we're all going to go into the metaverse. We're going to create a representation of ourselves. It could be seen as a digital twin. It could be seen as an avatar, which is a part of you that you aspire or you dream about. And this is where we all get to live our dreams in a manner where you define who you are, you define exactly who you want to be, you can decide the way that you want to look, and it allows us to actually go in a very immersive environment to interact with people all around us without being judged in terms of whether or not we're trying too hard. And I think that's really where the near future is. Brands that traditionally used to host a lot of events, perhaps organize festivals where we all used to attend, it's not going to happen anymore, or at least not for the near future. And this is where we're all going to go online. We're going to attend a concert, we're going to interact physically with a whole lot of other people. And I think that's where, we're now going to accelerate into this new normal that we're all going to go into. And I think that's really what's exciting us about the metaverse. And of course, now with big brands like Facebook having announced that they themselves are going to become a metaverse company would mean that a serious amount of money is going to flow into this space. We still hope that the metaverse will be decentralized, which would mean that each one of us as a creator would be able to own a piece of that metaverse and find different ways to actually earn income from that. But where we are today, it's a very, very exciting space. And a lot of changes are actually going to be happening. It reminds me about the early days of how social media was. You could see it as a platform for you to listen to others. You could see it as a platform where you can hear others talk, or you could see it as a platform where you can come in, define a voice for yourself, define a personality for yourself, own a piece of it, and also find a way to actually monetize your passion, monetize your time. And I think that opportunity is now available to each one of us.
Great.
Yeah, and to expand on what Prakash just mentioned, which is great. I think we are all sci-fi fans, right? So like a huge fan of Star Wars, Star Trek. And, we used to do pub hopping. I think probably is inspiring the name of our show called Enjinstarter Saloon. But these days it's more cool and chill, to do portal hopping where you can actually hop from room to room. And especially if you're going to be experiencing, all these experiences and events in a very immersive 3D form, right? Put on your VR headset and immediately you can actually do pub hopping. We call it portal hopping. And I think it's very... much sci-fi that is kind of like dragging us into that space, not just because it's brand new and shiny, but it's just sci-fi is just reality ahead of time, is ahead of schedule, and this is what we are already experiencing, in a very scaled up way during the pandemic. Everybody, play, games more. I remember during the beginning of the pandemic, I went out to buy, an Xbox, and then I got so bored with it after a month, and I discarded, put it one side, right? I want to buy a Quest 2, Oculus Quest 2, and then I started to experience everything, including browsing the web on VR space, right? Everything's so gigantic, and once you have experienced that, you just don't want to go back, to the old way of even consuming content, for example. These days, I watch my Olympics by putting on my VR headset because I'm able to watch it on a screen that is bigger than the one that I'm staring at next to me. It's only 60 inch. Can you imagine that? Only 60 inch. I used to be comfortable with just 32. Now 60 is not big enough because in VR everything is gigantic. And imagining all these things that even interaction we're experiencing right now in 2D form, it looks pretty amazing. Maybe like 5-10 years ago. But now we are all so sick of all this Zoom fatigue, right? We just want to actually experience it in a different form, interact in a different form. So next week, I'm attending, I think end of this week, the closing ceremony of the Olympics. I'm going to be congregating together with like 32 other people in the virtual world. We call it the summer room over at the spatial.io. I think it's an event that anyone can just simply sign up and attend, right, and watch the closing ceremony together. But it's more interesting to attend it and watch the closing ceremony with people from all around the world. So the Metaverse is definitely something that we want to build and establish with Enjinstarter. And the kind of Metaverse we want to build is a place where, startup founders, gaming developers, creators, experienced designers, even podcasters, our tribe, right? We can actually inhabit into this virtual world to create, to present our work, to meet each other, to VR, like portal hopping, yeah, and the internet. So it's just like just to think everything in 3D and to experiencing, this in a way where Mark Zuckerberg likes to call it, having more presence. I think right now I can't really feel your presence, even though you're either on top, left, right of this screen, right? It's unnatural. How do we actually talk like that to feel each other? But if you put on your VR headset, immediately I could feel or could hear, maybe Prakash in my background or Leslie giggling on the left side and Adele on the far corner, because there's spatial audio. And the moment when I turn left, I could see your avatar and you look gigantic. I think that's something that already helps me to feel better and sense your presence. So I think this is gonna be the blue pill, black, red pill, option that we have to choose every day, right? I spend 3 hours until my battery runs or dies off on me before I revert back to reality. So just like the iPhone that has changed our lives, the AR glasses, the VR headsets are gonna change our lives in a very big way. So it's a matter of
thanks for sharing, man. Obviously you've got so much more wealth of experience going into the VR world. It really feels like you it feels like you put on the the Ready One player armor, and then you went into it in full immersions into the VR world. And I think for us who have not even gotten to the stage, thanks for sharing that immersive experience that you had for that. I think like I said, we are in the presence of greatness, man.
Yeah. In fact, Prakash, Vincent Lim asked me to say hi.
Sure.
And we actually have some questions coming in for Enjinstarter. So I do want to start talking about Enjinstarter soon, but let's quickly wrap up. Introducing the metaverse. I think NFTs, people have heard about it. There are a lot of, Gary V talks about NFTs a lot now. So it's pretty mainstream. But let's, Wayne, if you can share with us, can you share a screen and show us something like this metaverse? What is this world that you're looking at?
I sent a link of basically, just me, myself, right? Walking through a VR gallery that I built. I managed to build that VR world in less than an hour because it's basically an empty space that you can curate. You can actually place either NFT art on a wall, or you could.
Hold on. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me try to share the screen so that people can see what's going on. So if you are seeing, and let me just see if I can get it out. There you go. You guys see my screen? Is this the one you're talking about?
Yeah, this is the one. That's right. Yeah.
I see things
Do I?
So if you actually turn on the music, right, you could even hear the effect of the spatial audio. It's great because nothing beats having the sound and the audio respond to your movement. So when you actually move left or right, like this is actually a recording done on my iPad. Yeah, it's basically me just screen capturing this while I actually open a browser and then just moving forward and backwards. But if you actually immerse yourself in this virtual world, right, called spatial.io, everything looks gigantic. It's like you're in the middle of this big virtual gallery that you built yourself on your own. And then you are the curator of this gallery where you can put in anything that you like, like I love, podcast episodic artwork. So like that becomes like my main thing because I'm not an NFT artist. I never will be an NFT artist, I guess. But, now that you have all these artists that are inspiring us to build stuff, right? I'm actually experimenting also like building 3D models, using this app called Sketchfab, which allows me to become an artist all of a sudden. And this is a great platform because you can actually place your art and then attach, links to it. So you could actually be connected to like your OpenSea or some of the other NFT marketplaces out there. Anyone who loves anything that you have hung on the virtual wall, right? They can actually click on that and then make a purchase immediately. I think that's something that is mind-blowing the first time. And I love to tape all my podcasts just like you on StreamYard. And when I decided to just upload those footage, right, hang on a wall, it becomes like another space for me to actually get this content discovered by more new people. So there are times when this gallery is open 24 hours, right, and this link gets shared by people who knows about this place. I don't even know, who has discovered my podcast shows, right, or even like some of the things I'm building right now with Prakash, right? And whether they discover it through this gallery, it's like a place that's open 24/7. I don't need to be there physically. And someone could just stumble upon this, find that, they like the art or the episodic artwork, and they like the snippets. They like what's been discussed about during the shows. They like some of the, the stellar cast or the guests that comes on, like gmoney.eth, and then decided that, maybe I'll just check one of his live taping when he's doing it with Enjinstarter Salon. And that's one way to actually build the community. I think discoverability is a huge factor, and people love to find new ways and new places where they can go into and then actually consume content in a different way. Like I was mentioning about the Olympic closing ceremony, right? I'm so looking forward to it. It's not because, I just want to watch it in a large screen, but I want to interact with 32 other people from other nationalities when they are contingent march out of a stadium, right? They'll be all talking, Taiwan won their first gold medal, or Malaysia just got the medal in badminton. And we want to share these experiences. It's more fun than just watching a closing ceremony. I watched the opening ceremony alone on my 60-inch screen, and I wasn't satisfied. Now I'm really looking forward to the closing ceremony because you'll be in the virtual world.
Right.
Awesome,
okay.
man, Wayne. Yeah.
that kind of reminded me of Second Life, this game back in the day. Are you guys familiar with? I'm sure you
Yeah.
guys are.
Yeah,
Second Life.
there's a lot of
That's
music
an
performances.
early,
I think many DJs actually find the start right in Second Life. So, in fact, the founder, who I was very privileged to interview, Arthur Sichov, who's the founder of another metaverse virtual world platform called Somnium Space, he used to be a DJ in Second Life. So that was his first start, actually doing stuff in the metaverse. Back then, it wasn't called metaverse, right? We haven't really found a language to describe this, and it's actually something that is quite really caught on during the beginning of this year, I think, because you see more and more marketers talking about it. You've heard the Gary Vee talking about it, and everyone is using it because it's finally a word that we could use freely, and nobody owns it yet. So you could describe it the way you interpret it differently, and provide that as even a sort of different immersive experience, right? And to promote cultural exchange. And of course, there's the social VR side that I just mentioned, which can actually function very well as 3D websites. So it serves very cultural related purposes, not just as a marketing purpose only. So I'm sure that many people are already sick of using, our iPhones or iPads or laptops, right, to serve website. That is so antiquated in 2021.
Wayne, you are way ahead of the curve than most of us. I can say that you're probably the 1% of the entire population, or even less than that, who actually uses it to its full capacity or its full nature of how to experience to get this experiential and immersive whole experience itself. Prakash, I know why now you have asked Wayne to be on the show, because he's of that tribe, right? Really, literally,
Exactly.
talks non-stop. My gosh.
No, bro, very honestly, during the first lockdown, right, we all couldn't do much. We were all tired with Netflix. And I actually got a lot of inspiration watching Wayne with his podcast, right? And not only was he delivering it with a full amount of energy, but he was also delivering a lot of insights, right? He had a lot of interesting guys on his show, and he was speaking to people, and that really kind of began a journey for me with Wayne. I became a super fan, started watching and liking anything and everything that he was putting, and then of course we began this journey. But I think the thing about Wayne is that he kind of captured that moment, right? He knew that in that moment of lack, there's going to be an opportunity, and he found a way to kind of harness that, and he became an inspiration for all of us.
Right. Okay, let's slow this down a little bit, because I think we'll be having people who are familiar, and then we'll also have people who are not familiar. So now we know about NFTs, we know about the metaverse, and then let's hear a little bit more about Enjinstarter.
Sure.
And I'm sure when people start Googling Enjinstarter in the future, they'll find this video. So just for the uninitiated, can you explain what you're building here?
Yeah, so let me set the stage first. It all begins with a company called Enjin, right? Which is actually a Singapore-based company. They did an ICO in 2017, and they were the first and the pioneer in the blockchain gaming space, right? So they were the first in. They started building in 2017, very focused on blockchain gaming, because since 2009, they have been building communities for games, and that's kind of where they saw an opportunity, and they started building that. And they have now, become $1 billion market cap, crypto top 100. And just today, they also launched Efinity, right? So Efinity is publicly trading. I think it's done something like 40x from their private sale. And basically what Efinity is, it's going to be a new blockchain that will launch early next year. And it's a purpose-built blockchain that's focused on NFTs. And they're going to be creating this cross-chain compatibility for all NFTs, right? So they've got very, very ambitious visions They've been in the space, they've been building through the bear market, and now they've reached a place where the technology that they're building has come of age, and this is their time to step up and their time to shine. And they are looking at building an ecosystem, and that's exactly what we were doing. So we pitched to them, we got them to come in and support us. And we are primarily going to be building an ecosystem on both Engine as well as Efinity. We are targeting creators of all kinds, primarily focused on game developers, but it can be anybody. It can be like you, a celebrity who's got content, who may want to create a digital twin for herself. Again, these are projects that we're looking for. So I would say that 50% of our focus is on blockchain gaming, 25% focus is on metaverses. And then there are a lot of these little shoots that are popping up, like virtual influencers. We're extremely passionate about that. We feel that the role that they're going to play in the metaverse is going to be very, very crucial. And I think where we are is that we want to power creators who are actually looking at building this ecosystem with us. We want to provide them with the resources. We're going to provide them with the platform where they, one, can crowdfund and get their projects to become a reality. And secondly, to also concurrently build a community, right? So, one-liner, Enjinstarter is a Kickstarter for blockchain gaming and metaverses. We are launching very, very soon. Please join the community and be part of it. But that's primarily what we're going to do.
So let's ask another. That's really cool. Okay. All right. So for somebody who's a creative and less techy, I understand that you can work with game developers, but can you also then work with filmmakers? I have a whole bunch of community. I would love to do music again. I used to sing. I'd love to launch another album. No, I didn't. I had a single, or even like artists. When we have seen digital artists on doing NFTs and selling that, but how would Enjinstarter be working with these kind of creatives besides the game developers, filmmakers?
So at the core of our strategy is really NFTs, right? We see NFTs as a tool that's going to allow creators to actually create value and transfer that value from one platform to another. And as long as that value can be transferred, the value of what they're creating is going to become valuable, right? So I've built my career working with creatives. And in the past, no one's really going to value digital art. People may see a painting and say, okay, they're willing to pay 10,000, they're willing to pay 100,000 for it. But when they see a digital painting, they're going to say that, they can't own it, right? People are going to be ripping it, they're going to be using it in a whole range of ways. But what the NFTs have now created is that you can actually secure the right to the ownership of that particular digital asset. And what you see now on Twitter, or if you go on any other social network, you'll see people with a whole range of creative avatars, right? And it's become a way that they are defining themselves in a space. And this is a way that they are also owning a piece of culture, right? If you ask any of these crypto guys to buy a piece of Picasso, they're not going to buy it. But if you give them a funk or a punk or a bored ape, they will pay tens of thousands, even millions, because that defines a lifestyle that they were in. It defines a lifestyle where it's built on crypto, and by being able to own it, you get recognition within a community. And I think that's the real trend change that's happening today. And this is where creators now who are unable to understand what this technology can offer would find ways to actually create NFTs and be a lot closer to their communities. They can even create very niche communities where every one of them buys an NFT to actually define themselves and be a member in a private community, right? So that's exactly what's happening now in the NFT space. And from a creator perspective, you don't need to rely on an agent. You don't need to rely on an intermediary. you have full control. You can create the content as long as you have a fan base or someone appreciates your craft. There's a way that that value can be created and the value can be transferred. And that's really what the excitement is. And that's really where the future of this entire space is.
And adding on to Prakash, is an excellent point, right? I think every creative, every filmmaker, every artist or musician out there, right? They should start to think in terms of in 3D now, just like how marketers are entering the metaverse the same way, to always think of whatever that they do next, right? To think in terms of 3D, because the Gen Z and even the Gen Alpha who were born, I think after 2010, right? They already understand digital ownership much better than our generation. I think we are already considered the boomer generation in terms of how majority of us so far, right, are still consuming content the old way, doing interaction and meetings and Zooms. These are kind of like antiquated in 2021. And the way the Gen Z and even the Alpha, Gen Alpha, they show up in the digital world, right, is just as important as the physical world. So when your future, consumer of your content or of your music or your film are going to consider the digital world as important or even more important than everything that you create, that should now be in 3D. So like there are filmmakers, who are actually raising funds for their filmmaking, funding process, right? Using a lot of new platforms, just like Enjinstarter. Yeah, they're using community, they're using crowdfunding, but not the old way. Yeah, they're using NFTs as a platform and a medium for them to raise funds. They're using a lot of unlockable content that people who actually support their project in the early process, right, will be able to get access to, that other people who just simply buy a $15 cinema movie going ticket, right, is unable to actually have access to those content. So with smart contracts, Ethereum is great. Even though we know that Ethereum isn't great for NFTs, they're great for smart contracts. So there's the sky is the limit in terms of how filmmakers can creatively, create some of their projects and raise funds these ways using this new model. And even marketers, right? Basically, the role of marketer is also something that maybe musicians and creatives need to think more in terms of these days. They need to reinvent themselves, just like how they reinvent themselves and they continuously to innovate in terms of making better films or better, putting out better music albums, especially. They want to actually, feel even more comfortable, and talk about the metaverse with the language that is comprehensible and also that is accessible to all audience. So I think the metaverse community has really very unique ethos as well, which means that they're also very critical of brand and marketing in spaces that they consider sacred. So like I was talking about those metaverses and virtual world platforms, right? Definitely you don't want to go to portal hopping and immediately land in a room where you see so many Coca-Cola logos or Pepsi commercials playing in the background. Like you might have noticed from that clip that you just played earlier, it's just full of art. It's full of visual things because we just want to feel that we are in a space that is cool, that that we could feel from the messages by just looking at that artwork, right? Oh, that's something that resonates with me. I see a lot of value in that. I love it so much that I will probably spend 3 hours in it and probably hang around much longer than probably, sometimes I would just bounce immediately when I land in a website that doesn't have the kind of right colors that appeal to me, right? It's the same thing, with creatives, filmmakers, and musicians. You can curate and think in 3D, right? Even a gallery that pops up right away, and you can speak to your audience through either your snippets of your trailers or your sneak previews or upcoming film or music album, right? You could immediately grab a new bunch of a new audience. And of course, we're talking about NFTs and all the great ways where it can help you to raise funds as well, and really feeling the power community to help you to fund your project. I think that the sky is really a little bit here. So those who are new to the metaverse and are just looking for a place to start, right? I think start slowly by investing into NFTs and crypto, of course. They don't need to have kind of money into this. Just have a little skin in the game and learn through participation. Like I'm a big fan of CryptoPunks, and I've been saving up to own a CryptoPunk, but it costs 140 ETH. So I'm like, okay, the only way for me to actually wear a CryptoPunk avatar, right? Just like how Gary Vee is doing it. I think he spent over $3 million on CryptoPunk the other day, just last week, right?
Yeah.
Well, the way for the rest of us, creators, filmmakers, or musicians to own that is actually to maybe invest in NFTs. I think this is another way for us to get a partial ownership. And that means
what?
that
Sorry,
you own it.
what NFT?
Yeah.
Partial NFT. Is that what you're saying? Partial.
NFT. Yeah.
F.
Fractional
What
NFTs. F stands for fractional. So it's a new
right.
form of NFTs where you can actually own a partial, just like shares, you can own partial shares, right? So NFTs allow anyone, you have probably less than what Gary, has in his wallet, right? Maybe you have only like 10 if he has 140. But that allows you to own a partial ownership of that CryptoPunk. I think that is where a lot of new platforms coming up allows people to dive into this space without spending a ton of money, and once you own that NFT, that means that you basically is one of the owners of that particular NFT collection, and then you can wear the avatar wherever you go. When you go watch a virtual Olympic screening in the virtual world, you can appear as a CryptoPunk, and I think that's something that really will help a lot of people figure this out, the metaverse, and by just investing in NFTs and cryptocurrency.
Interesting.
Wait,
I've never heard of a fractional NFT.
Yeah. So I also want to just go, I know we're short of time, but
Yeah, we're running out of time.
yeah. So, but the thing is, you mentioned a few things that caught my attention. I mean, we are listening to this like an alpha leak, basically, right? And you are already seeing something that I think most people has not seen. You are in the same category as Steven Spielberg, basically when he did
It's gone down the rabbit hole.
yeah, Ready Player One. You know the scene where he actually looks into the past memories. That seems to be the case that you're painting to me when you're describing that whole notion of the clip of the NFT basically that's being done, and having your avatars going around to watch in this metaverse basically, and wearing that VR whole thing and per se. So I'm like, this is super cool, man. Thanks for sharing, man. I just thought I had
You have a really good point about Steven Spielberg. Even he's pivoting. Remember he was one of the naysayers about streaming platforms. He's like against, having his movies released on OTTs on Netflix. Now he's doing a Netflix special. Yeah, I think he's probably going to be also working, on an NFT project. I'm sure just every brand's out there, they're working on an NFT project right now. Everyone's angle is NFTs and the metaverse.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that shows that no matter how old a creator is, or even if it's from an industry like Hollywood, which is very against all these new technology and innovations, or even musicians. I interview a bunch of musicians, many of whom are saying that I used to drop an album on Spotify and then I get paid peanuts for it, and that kind of mindset kind of is like pessimism, which is really self-fulfilling, right? Like if you don't actually go into a new space and actually find out and be early on trends, right? It's inevitable that either they'll be left behind or they're not part of that conversation. So Steven Spielberg hasn't been part of the conversation for a long time, and now he has to act because
I hear you on that. I definitely hear you on that way, but I think we need to move. I think because we're 40 minutes into our show, and people have questions for Enjinstarter. I mean, obviously, I'm very invested. I hear you completely as a creator. Let's come back. Let's keep our audience waiting. Let's come back for another conversation about how creators can jump onto the metaverse and make money a different way. But we have a couple of questions. I'm just going to jump straight to questions so that this allows our audiences more time to ask any more. And it's great. I mean, people are here to interact with you guys. So we have a question from Jonathan, who said he's very excited for the project to kick off. But he's asking, would Gala Games be a similar blockchain game platform? And what other functions does this token have aside from fundraising?
Sure. So yeah, one of the key things that we are also exploring, other than upcoming projects, would be to explore how can we bring games that have been launched in other chains into the Engine ecosystem. Right. At this point in time, everyone is looking for cross-chain compatibility, and Engine has a very strong community that is very focused on gaming. So we are speaking to establish games that are in the play-to-earn space. We're speaking to games that are looking at relaunching, and the whole idea really is to kind of create new opportunities that our community can participate on. And being a launchpad, beyond issuing tokens, we can issue NFTs, we can issue or we can do a private land sale. And these are some of the things that we're going to be doing as a launchpad. And that's one of the ways that we're going to be different from other launchpads out there.
Great.
Is this similar to, people are asking if this is similar, which is comparable to Gala Games? Or
so Gala Games is a game on its own, right? It's entirely, they're building an entire metaverse. It's a very fantasy-driven game. So that's a complete different game. We are more of a launchpad where you can see us kind of an Kickstarter, right? People come in, they kind of present, they run a campaign, they do a crowdfunding exercise. But beyond just crowdfunding, there's going to be a whole range of other things that we're going to have on our platform that makes it a bit different. We're definitely going to gamify the entire experience on our platform. There's going to be a whole range of quests where the community can actually participate to actually earn tokens. They can participate to actually gain recognition within the community. And that's one of the key things that we're going to be building in our launchpad.
I guess that's where Wayne comes in, right? Meet Wayne in a certain metaverse and get get rewarded for and get your airdrops per se, from
That's right.
for
That's
that
right. Wayne's going to ensure that we actually walk the talk, right? Wayne's going to create experiences in the virtual world. We will host meetups. We will host our town hall. If there's something to celebrate, we're going to have an after party. You know how it is in the crypto days. We'll have physical parties. There's a lot of fun.
Yes.
Now we're going to bring it to the virtual world. Now we're going to come the way that we enjoy, we perceive ourselves. And we're going to have a lot of fun that way. We'll come with cowboy hats, or we're going to come with ninja costumes, or whatever we feel like. And no one's going to judge us because in the real world, if you attend an event in costume, everyone's going to watch you. But I think in the metaverse, it gives us a lot more freedom to actually express ourselves, interact with others, and also just kind of create new relationships.
So Prakash, I think maybe to help the anyone that's the uninitiated, right? We went really deep end, with Wayne, obviously, down the rabbit hole is literally down to that rabbit hole. Well, let's pull back a bit because we are talking to the main guys, the mainstream guys who has very little exposure to such things like this. Having Enjinstarter as the crowd or the Kickstarter on the Enjin platform itself, would there be support from Enjin itself? Maybe you could elaborate
for sure. Yeah, so I guess, at this point in time, the hottest team in the entire crypto or blockchain space is blockchain gaming. And, there's a whole lot of hype that's coming into it. We're seeing a lot more new formats, new games that are coming in. Enjin is the pioneer in this space, right? And we're quite fortunate to have their blessings. They are our seed investors. They invested in us, and we are going to be building that ecosystem with them. It's a very cooperative relationship. Every base protocol has got a launchpad, and everyone is kind of focused on ecosystem building, and that's really the way that growth actually happens, right? You need to be able to attract a tribe, like what Wayne talked about, ensure the tribe's needs address, ensure that the tribe is well looked after. If you contribute, you get recognition. If you give time, there's some kind of reward that you actually get back in that. And that's going to be our responsibility, right? We're going to create that safe environment that you can come and create with us. You can come and participate with us. Even if you don't have any talent, but you just got time, you can come onto our platform. You can talk about a project. You can promote a certain project. And you can also start to participate within this ecosystem. And I think, with the hype that's happening now with the whole crypto or blockchain gaming space, we hope to be a platform where we're going to give people an exposure as well as an opportunity to actually participate with some of the upcoming projects. Working with Enjin, we know we're going to be able to attract top quality projects onto our platform. And we want our community to actually own a piece of that.
So maybe because of time, I think I just want to quickly get into those nitty gritty and heavy questions, right? And so if let's say someone is interested in supporting Enjinstarter for your project basically, because you guys are new as well, right? And how would that utility function of your token, which is Enjinstarter's own? Have you guys got a ticker or something? I don't know what you're going to. Okay, EJS, right? So if someone buys the token for the method to support the project, how is it being utilized, and what's the relationship between that and Enjin's own native coin? Like, could you maybe explain a little bit?
Our coin is purely for the community building on our platform. You would be able to participate in future projects by actually staking our coin, or you can actually use our token. It's primarily a utility token, which is going to be used to build the ecosystem. We've set aside 30% of our tokens for the community. We've set aside 8% as an ecosystem fund to actually invest into early projects. And that's kind of where we're going to kind of be a catalyst for new projects to actually come on. We're going to be working with musicians. We're going to be working with artists. We're going to be working with game developers for sure. And that's primarily where EJS or the Enjinstarter token comes in. But we will also definitely be looking at gamified DeFi. I think, you're one of the early pioneers in the DeFi space. But, it has been presented primarily kind of like a financial product. It's kind of like a financial instrument, right? But we are trying to introduce it as a gamified experience where we can run a quest, where we engage with the community in a means where people come together, they come and solve certain pain points, and when they solve it, there's a reward, and the reward gets shared with the community. And that's one way we're going to be introducing our token into our community, and also working with other tokens that may want to work with us to actually engage with the community.
Nice. That's a very good explanation, man. Thanks, Prakash. Adele, you got any more questions before we want to end up the show?
I just want to quickly address. So quite early on when our stream started, somebody said that, he noticed that Enjin is more blockchain based compared to other companies that are maybe more game development based, and was asking how Enjin itself can overcome that. And it almost sounds like Enjinstarter is the answer to that question, right?
Yeah, so Enjin's kind of the base layer, right? They were early in the space. They built the foundation. Now they've launched Infinity, which is kind of like the highway, which is now going to bring in a whole new way things can happen in a very efficient way. It's high-speed content creation, high-speed NFT distribution. But at the end of the day, without adoption, without projects, the technology is not going to take off, right? And that's where we come in. We find creators like yourself. We develop a strategy for you in terms of how you can actually harness this technology. It could be you creating an NFT. It could be you kind of creating a virtual game, and then kind of using the blockchain, which actually is going to power the entire experience, and kind of creating that in a manner where either we are now distributing the ownership, or creating new ways that people can fractionally own you, like what Wayne talked about, and that's really where we are coming from. And Wayne, you've probably seen a whole lot of execution when it comes to this space, and you've spoken to many creators. You should kind of share some insights from that front too.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with minting NFTs, right? The high gas fees could really go sky high, all of a sudden, and then the speed and efficiency is not there, right? So this is where I think Enjin and Infinity really come in to solve that problem for creators, because by actually doing this in a very efficient way, and I think creators love the fact that they don't alienate the audience by actually creating all these NFTs and having all these blockchain projects, right? That some might say ruin their art because of the environmental impact. What Enjin and Infinity is doing is really innovating in this space to actually make minting NFTs environmentally friendly process. I think in terms of the efficiency as well, the speed, I think this is where I think the Kings of Leon, the first launch that they did probably a few months ago in the beginning of this year, created a lot of headlines, but also a lot of negative headlines. The fans were complaining, why am I paying gas fees that cost more than the vinyl album? I mean, it doesn't make sense for any collector, of music or film to pay more for gas fees than the actual ownership of that digital or the physical item. So I think this is where Engine and Infinity is really innovating in a huge way. And that's why I think Prakash's vision is to bring in people like me, who's also like from your tribe, to be able to actually speak this language, so that we don't just use Metaverse as a marketing angle, but the Metaverse allows us to actually talk more about things like XR, Web3, NFTs, blockchain, cryptocurrency, in a way that really resonate with the average person on the street. And we all know that the average person requires a lot of education in this space. And this is where I think, just like what Mark Zuckerberg has been doing, right? He set up a new Metaverse product group. I think what Prakash is doing is very Mark Zuckerberg-like in terms of like his initiatives is all similar, but so unique at the same time, because he's creating community, he's bringing creators together. There's commerce, there's next computing platforms that he's going to roll out. So these will all unlock many new experiences by themselves. So I think together, right, if we actually work together and collaborate, we are all much of a part of a much larger goal to help to bring this Metaverse to life. So I really believe that this Metaverse, just like how Prakash has envisioned it, it will be the successor to the mobile internet, and creating this, it's going to be the next step in our Enjinstarter journey. And to be part of this team to help build it is also a huge privilege. So it gives me an opportunity to say thank you to Prakash on my right.
But honestly,
I guess
at the end of the day, it's all about the community. We are purely a catalyst, and that's why we're very honored to be on DeFi SG today. I've been an audience, and today to be a guest, and also to kind of value the work that you've been doing, Leslie, in terms of always being very passionate to educate the community, always very passionate to kind of teach and share knowledge. And that's really where we are. And, if anyone from your community is interested to learn more or to be part of this movement, please speak to Leslie. And we're happy to kind of figure a way to kind of work with you. If you have proposals in terms of ideas that you may want to execute, bounce it off, Leslie. Get in touch with us. We won't take no for an answer. We'll find a way to make it a reality.
On that note, can we declare our partnership? Fist bump, bro. Yeah. I'm just being a bit sly here, just sliding in, since on that note. Wayne, it's been a pleasure, So I guess I have to do a series with you, because 1 hour doesn't cut it with you, man. So, Adele's our program director for
You should do one with Wayne in a virtual environment, right?
Yeah, I mean, we
do
should
it in
that,
Sonium or do it in spatial.
Yeah, so I guess on that note, we should be closing soon. Final notes, Prakash, in terms of the project Enjinstarter, where are you at now in terms of which rounds are you at, and if somebody's interested in getting they can actually contact DeFi Singapore, obviously, but could they have some information as to date, currently where are you at this point?
Sure.
Before we close off.
So we just came out of stealth exactly 2 weeks ago. We just closed our strategic round over the weekend. We just started on our private one round, and we have already got 50% commitment. Primarily at this point of time, we are working with community builders like yourself. We're working with crypto VCs, and we're also working with a whole lot of other influencers. And that's kind of where we are kind of building up towards. We're working towards doing a token sale by the end of Q3. And at this point of time, market conditions are perfect, but we do need to build a community. And until the community is of a certain strength, we're not going to launch a public sale. Our platform is going to be ready by the mid of August. But we're going to continue building the community, continue building partnerships like what we're doing with DeFi SG. And I think with that, if there's more conversations that your community wants to have, feel free to reach out to Leslie. We're constantly in touch. We're always exploring ideas in terms of how we can actually transfer some of this value to the community. We're happy to kind of continue supporting DeFi Singapore as we actually evolve in our journey.
All right, man. So I guess we went to the end of the session in a short span of like 1 hour, right? So I guess without Adele, do you have any more last few questions before I want to ask? I mean, these guys are really awesome for spending the time with us, and it's already 1 hour that's just passed so fast.
I think there are a couple more questions in the chat, but I feel like that's too long to go back to explaining. So we'll have to actually get them back. We'll check with both of you. I think, right? There's a partnership now anyway. I heard DeFi Singapore and Enjinstarter. Little Bert told me so. So have them back, definitely. Maybe once the platform's ready, and they'll walk us through it. I want to see it. I think we need a little bit more visual. It's a metaverse. Let's see it.
Awesome. It'll be an honor. And Wayne, I think we should also get Leslie on the Enjinstarter Saloon. Get him to share his insights in terms of community building, and having been, a crypto OG, being one of the early pioneers in the whole Bitcoin.
Bro, must correct you. I cannot say I'm an OG. Just say I'm a pioneer. Can really OG. You know who is my mentor, right? He's the OG.
That's like my mentor.
We should get him on the show.
Yeah, I dare not claim the OG status, man. I'm definitely not. We're just initial early bird. One of the early guys. In the space. Yeah, even Koba is the OG in the space. So don't put me together with them, man.
You are my teacher.
Yeah. I want to thank every one of you for joining in. It's been really a huge pleasure. Adele, as always, it's always a pleasure to have you on the channel. Prakash, thanks for coming out and reaching out in the past few weeks. We've been super busy. Wayne, it's been an awesome, first time meeting you guys as well. So if you guys want to take part into the Enjinstarter's, early movement, you can actually or be part of the participate in their token sale per se. You can always email to defisingapore@gmail.com, and I will just call it a night for tonight. So good night, and thank you for coming and on the channel itself. Thank you all. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Thanks for the opportunity, bro.
Bye.